Good morning. The United States and other countries have export bans on semiconductors and chip-making equipment going to China. Chinese companies are responding by going around them and also by greatly expanding their own capabilities in advanced chip design and manufacturing. In other words, Chinese companies have proven quite successful in getting around the bans and rules that were intended to prevent China from developing their semiconductor industry. But it's not just Chinese companies that are going around the US rules. Everybody is. The Wall Street Journal explains here that Chinese companies access the fastest and most powerful chips by Nvidia by using cloud servers based outside China. A Bitcoin miner rounded up some investors from Dubai in the United States, bought 300 artificial intelligence servers powered by Nvidia chips, set them up in Australia, and then started working with Chinese companies. Here's a quote that we like here, that sanctions just create new markets. He's saying the same thing. There is demand, there is profit, and so there will be supply. And it may as well be him. No laws are being broken. The chips are not being exported to China, and Chinese companies are not accessing US cloud services. The system gets even more clever in their contracting and payment procedures. Everything about these contracts is encrypted on blockchain, including the identities of the people accessing their servers. American lawmakers are learning about all these workarounds. Chinese users exploit loopholes in the laws. The steady flow of microchips into China must stop. Commerce Department lady says they're watching it all and gives a vague non-answer about doing something. But in this particular instance, there is no flow of microchips into China. The Nvidia chips were sold in Singapore and put in servers in Australia. Legally speaking, the buyers are Singapore. So that's one workaround. A clever guy in Singapore with some rich friends in the Middle East and in the US buying Nvidia chips to put in servers that they rent anonymously to anyone who needs it. Google and Microsoft are American companies though, and they like making money. The big tech firms are collaborating with Chinese buyers to provide them access to Nvidia's fastest chips and hardware, including the H100 AI servers. Renting is not the same thing as selling, and the semiconductor trade ban does not have any language in the laws about renting access to chips. Exports of the A100 and the H100 AI accelerators are banned, but Tencent and Alibaba and other Chinese tech companies, including Huawei probably, have access to the Nvidia chips just by working with Microsoft or Google. But these Chinese companies have to pay a higher price to rent the chips. There is a rental premium. Turns out, though, that the rental premium isn't real either. Chinese companies can rent Nvidia's best chips for less than American companies can. Chinese cloud companies running Nvidia A100s charge $6 per hour, while US vendors charge $10 per hour. These low prices show that the market in China is well supplied with Nvidia chips, despite the US measures intended to stop it. An expert here estimates that there are at least 100,000 Nvidia H100 processors in China right now, based on market conditions here, and that it's fairly easy to bring them into the country. So the availability of Nvidia chips is one factor that drives the rental prices down, but there is another. China is also well supplied with Huawei chips, which on key benchmarks perform better than Nvidia's. Huawei semiconductors are restricted for sale or use in the US and other US-friendly countries, so Nvidia faces no competition in North America. But here in China, Nvidia does face strong competition from Huawei, and Huawei's chips are priced higher than Nvidia's here. Intel is another US chip maker, and they get around the export rules by just setting up production facilities and research labs here in China. They just announced a new GPU for Chinese electric cars, which will be made in Shenzhen. Intel's Arc series discrete GPUs were first used in gaming, and they've been upgraded since and can run full large language models and generative AI applications inside the car instead of on cloud services. Intel is also moving its entire automotive division to China. so the entire division will be outside US export rules. Despite intense pressure to restrict trade with China, Intel is deepening ties with China. Late last year, Intel opened a new innovation center in Shenzhen in close cooperation with the local government there. It's focused on artificial intelligence, applications, and edge computing. Intel will partner with 6 local companies and will set up joint labs and research areas in Shenzhen. Roll Call is a publication that covers the Washington political scene, and they have more about how our lawmakers and regulators are trying to plug all these holes in the dam. The Treasury Department is trying to stop U.S. investment flowing into China's tech sector, and a new proposal would outright ban U.S. citizens and residents from investing in AI, quantum, and semiconductors. But they're still trying to figure out what is going to be banned and where. Is it all outbound U.S. investment? Does that mean no more tech investment to Singapore or Australia? I guess we'll find out. About $40 billion in equity finance for AI technology in China involved U.S. investors. Now VC and tech companies are already figuring out ways around this proposed new rule. Here's a good example about the language problem. Tech investors and companies want to know what Congress is talking about here when they say advanced integrated circuit design. The most advanced chip today is not going to be considered advanced 2 years from now. And any semiconductor chip made in the past 30 years could be described as a highly advanced integrated circuit. As usual, our lawmakers are making things up as they go along, and even our small investors are way ahead of them. Private capital in the Middle East and Singapore can legally buy the best chips anyway and rent them to buyers anywhere using blockchain encryption, and even they don't know who their customers are. And Google and Microsoft and Intel, they have enough money to do whatever they want anyway. This is Macau. Be good.
Is like a wise man who built his house on a rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the wind